Welcome back to the Tech Strong Gang. Well, we've been talking about AI and we even talked a little bit about water, but for water utilities, AI is only one of the issues that they're facing. There's been a rising threat of cyber attacks, especially last year in 2024 for large and small utilities. New research shows that these two dual challenges are really posing a problem for water utilities in the short term and in their long-term planning. Let's take a look.
Water utilities are facing a dual challenge: the rise of digital threats along with surging demand. As AI reshapes infrastructure needs, these compounding pressures are reflected in Black & Veatch's 2025 water report, which finds that 95% of utilities now list cybersecurity as a critical investment priority. There's been a sharp rise in cyber attacks on water systems. Last year, cyber incidents targeted both small and large providers, according to the U.S. intelligence community. But it's not just attacks disrupting operations. A single 100-megawatt data center can consume up to 2 million liters of water per day, equivalent to the daily water needs of over 6,000 homes. When it comes to quantifying the future water needs of AI, research shows that water utilities grapple with uncertainty in long-term planning. That's because data centers' size and locations depend on private decisions. Cooling needs also vary based on hardware, climate, and designs that companies rarely disclose. Success will depend not only on resilience, but also on clear cybersecurity protocols, coordination with data centers, and infrastructure planning that accounts for evolving water needs.
You know, it's interesting. We talk a lot about the grid and the surge that AI is going to have on demand, but water is also crucial, as we were just discussing, because sometimes it's not just water, but it's also purified water, which might mean more water to produce for these facilities. So I think that there's a big question mark looking forward for these utilities.
Absolutely, Bonnie. And back to our first block about potential critical infrastructure. There was that attack on the water system. Was it in New York or somewhere in the Northeast? Potential attack on a water system. Our water is probably one of the most vulnerable of our critical infrastructure delivery systems. I don't want to even say anything to give people ideas out there, but it's scary when you think about it.
So, Monty, where is the water going to come from? Because having visited places like Arizona, water is an ongoing debate, and there's fights over who owns the Colorado River, and people are trying to redirect the river, and Southern California wants it to grow almonds and all kinds of stuff. But there's only so much water, so where's it going to come from?
That's a great question. I think a lot of it is looking towards the climate tech solutions that I often talk about and ways of creating more opportunities for water. But once you start getting into those political battles, that is a tricky one, and I don't have the answer for that. But the water utilities themselves are not only dealing with that, but with this rising threat of cyber attacks, it's a lot for them to take on, plus the regulations. So it's something to keep watch on, especially as we keep talking about new data construction, for data centers.
But it's not just new data centers, it's water-cooled data centers. Yeah. You could know these AI data centers that are being built cannot be cooled by air alone. And so the water demands there become exorbitant. Look to Israel, look to Saudi Arabia, companies that have put a lot of money into desalinization technologies, especially when you talk about non-potable type of water uses, such as in an AI data center. I believe, necessity is the mother of invention, and politics isn't the answer here. Technology is.
Well, that's an interesting aspect too, because Mr. Solar here, I got to say it. one of the nice uses of solar power, whether it's photovoltaic, solar electricity, or just heat, is desalinization. And one of the reasons for that is because it's an asynchronous use or load. In other words, you don't really need batteries because you could essentially run desal on whenever the sun is shining and just let it stop when the sun isn't shining, because the water will just sit there and wait to be used. So yeah, desalinization actually works really, really well. There's been some really interesting approaches to this using barges, for example, with offshore water tanks. Also, water is nice because it is extremely, you can move it really easily. You can pump it in these magical devices called pipes that have been invented a little while ago. And you can store it in these incredible storage tanks called lakes. And all of these things are very appealing from an environmental perspective, but also because they solve a lot of problems.
Well, as the ice melts, right, we could actually use it.
It's a good thing we are shipping. It's a good thing we're shipping, billions of gallons of water around in plastic bottles, because that really helps.
Well, one of the curious things, okay, so you're talking about water cooled, but we also talk about liquid cooled, because there's other
those are two different things. Yeah,
right. And when I was at the HPC conference on supercomputing last year, I met with the CTO of Valvoline. They had a big, huge booth there, and the reason why I met with them is like, he asked for the meeting, and I'm like going, I'm game. What the heck is Valvoline doing here? And part of the premise of what they've been doing, they've been cooling engines forever. And, they have a lot of technology that's been involved with the F1s and everything else that goes along with specialized technology that they're applying to this market. So ingenuity, creativity, expansion, where do we go? And it's not just, yes, the lakes and that kind of thing, but we'll see what happens with, desalinization. So I think there's a lot there that U.S. has in terms of our creativity of how we tackle problems like this.
Absolutely. Interesting stuff. Great report, Bonnie.
Thank you.
Hey, we've got to pull the plug on this one. We're overtime. What a great Textron gang for this wonderful Tuesday. Who knows what we'll have for tomorrow, for Wednesday, but keep our fingers crossed that all is well in the world. We do have a full Textron TV lineup as usual following, so stay tuned for that. Just a quick mention. We are now doing Textron Gang Deconstructed on YouTube, and I believe on Textron TV in the OTT channel, where you don't have to watch all 3 blocks if that's not your thing, though why you wouldn't is beyond me. But if you just want to catch one of these blocks because you only have a short amount of time, take your pick, watch one now, watch one later, save one for tomorrow, but watch it. Until next time, this is Alan Schimmel on behalf of Bonnie and Mike and Kimberly and JP and, of course, Stephen Foskett. Have a great day, everyone. We're out.